This is called Time to Get Off Our High Horses. I spend an inordinate amount of time at a coffee shop called Mocha Joe's. Joe isn't just slang for coffee. It's a tribute to the gruff master of shoe repair who worked in the below-ground storefront for decades. Shoe fix, caffeine fix, reincarnation works in mysterious ways. On this particular Saturday, I'm alternating between newspaper reading and people watching. The young girl hunched over a textbook, finger-twirling hair. The hulking dreadlock musician type and his emaciated, stringy, black-haired friend. The pregnant woman with one hand on her tea and the other protectively on her stomach. Two kids playing chess, fueled by some frozen insult to coffee. And two lovers in the corner who are hunched over their drinks and each other. I smell the soft bouquet of a new romance with a few bold, brassy notes on top and a not-so-subtle finish. After making short work of the newspaper, I stand up to get a refill and find myself staring directly at the precarious window-ledge bookshelf. A copy of the Iliad stares right back at me. I can take a hint. I calmly get my refill and sit back down and begin dowsing to see if I can hit a vein. These blustery heroes are definitely my kind of people. They didn't suspect there was a parallel reality that informed every moment. They knew there was. My equivocations about random visits from the presumed dead seem cowardly in the face of their blithe but exuberant acceptance of and even literal intercourse with gods and goddesses. While trying to figure out which deities were conspiring with the Trojans and which were working with the Greeks and why they kept switching sides, I look up to see a gangly figure looming above me. His face is big, bright, red and oval, with a full white beard, goofy smile, and chaotic eyebrows. On top, a few unruly tufts of grayish-white hair flop over like grass that's grown tired of waiting for the mower. He's way overdressed in uncoordinated layers, department Santa Claus on a bender. Here's how I see it, he begins in a tone that seems more Borscht Belt than Homeric. A guy decides to go into battle. It could be anywhere, an office, a classroom, a stadium, or in Agamemnon's case, a well-walled city that's on the other side of a treacherous sea. As he leaves, he says to his wife, "See you when I get back." I hold up a book to slow him down. "We're talking Trojan War?" He laughs heartily. "You know some other Agamemnon?" The way he raises those eyebrows implies there might be more than one answer to that question. Our hero's goal is to build a business, earn a degree, win a medal of some sort, or take back what's rightfully his. In Agamemnon's case, his sister-in-law Helen, who's either run off with another man or been kidnapped. You never know with women, especially when she happens to be the most beautiful woman on earth. "So I've heard," I say slowly, but he brushes aside my comment because he's talking and I'm listening. "It might take years for our businessman, scholar, Olympian, or warrior to achieve his goal. In Agamemnon's case, 10 years. In the process, he may feel forced by the fates to do unforgivable things. Embezzle funds, cheat on exams, use performance-enhancing drugs. Or in Agamemnon's case, he raises his voice and beams, sacrifice his own daughter." The pregnant woman who's managed to ignore him until now looks up askance. "Different times," I say quietly, thinking maybe he'll talk softer. "Perhaps not as different as you think," he insinuates, oblivious to my hint. As he grows older, our hero's power may be challenged by young Turks, hotshot entrepreneurs, know-it-all academics, up-and-coming sports stars. In Agamemnon's case, a young Greek, Achilles by name, who threatens his leadership when Agamemnon insists. Said brave Achilles hands over his girlfriend. My friend puts his hand on his heart and gasps and gulps a few breaths. Don't know how the old bard kept it up or kept it straight. "You with me here?" "Excuse me," I blurt out, wondering if they have defibrillators at coffee shops. "Would you like to sit down maybe and join me?" He nods and grabs an empty ironwork chair that unfortunately is attached to the pregnant woman's table. They used to be at Mocha Joe's, if you remember, they were attached. He looks at her in the chair briefly as if deciding whether to rip the contraption apart and or do a cesarean. To our mutual relief, he just shrugs, throws himself on the other end of the couch and dives back in. Now, according to legend, there's a devious glint in our eye, our main man Agamemnon led his homesick troops to victory, thanks to a very clever ruse involving a rather large wooden horse. He grabs the book out of my hand and tosses it on the couch. "But don't believe everything you read." "I tend not to," I say slowly. I feel like I'm hovering between two equally tenuous worlds and see no reason to commit to either. Throwing his legs up and over the coffee table, my new friend continues. Eventually, Agamemnon returns, though the trip lasts a little longer than he expects, something to do with the winds. He comes home a changed man, new ideas for the kingdom, new lines of maturity on his face, a new swagger in his step, plus a new mistress, a woman who loves him not but sees his fate, but unfortunately no one ever believes such a Cassandra. He sits back on the couch and puts his hands behind his head, smiling, just an old man reminiscing about the good old days. Our hero's wife won't forgive him for staying so late at the office. Maybe she demands a separation, a divorce, or in Agamemnon's case, just plots with her new lover and kills him, making not an end, but simply a new beginning to the cyclical family feud, since she will in turn be killed by their son. As I'm trying to process this twisted plot, he pulls his legs off the table and twists towards me like he's going to go for my throat. Does this saga sound at all familiar? Well, parts of it, I guess, I say weakly while involuntarily backing away and having flashbacks of high school Latin. He leans forward even further, his blazing brown eyes taking on a decidedly hyperthyroid bulge, breathing surprisingly sweet breath into my face. Don't you humans have any imagination? It's been 3,000 years and you're telling the same old stories? Money, sex, power, war, peace, right, wrong. Money, sex, power, war, peace, right, wrong. Shall I go on? You're kind of oversimplifying, I say. Actually, you're overcomplicating, he shoots back, borderline angry. He stands up and with a wild wave of his hands, he addresses the multitudes. Humans, I have 3 words for you. Get over yourselves. Everyone's trying pretty hard to ignore him by now. The only people who look up are the 2 kids playing chess. White has long hair that covers a third of his face, retro glasses, and a rock band t-shirt that he found at either a thrift shop or deep in his dad's closet. Black has a crew cut and wears a clean dress shirt and jeans. White has his arms crossed and is rocking back and forth, hugging himself as if for warmth, but actually trying to suppress a smirk. Black's finger rests hesitantly on his bishop. My friend stands up, walks over, and surveys the battlefield. He runs his fingers through his sparse white hair before looking at Black. Better to flee from death than feel its grip. Without missing a beat, he returns to the couch, picks up the copy of the Iliad again, and tosses it on top of the table where it skids off the newspapers and onto the floor, a fate he clearly feels it deserves. If you still think you can win wars with weapons, or women with riches, or hearts with fires and brimstones, I repeat, get over yourselves. I'm really not sure it's that simple, I say again. Look, his face softens a bit, eyeballs retreating back into their sockets, revealing little crinkles of a smile. The only reason your petty little grudges and desires keep gnawing at your hearts is that you insist on fueling them with bitter thoughts of how you were misunderstood and mistreated. Naturally, I think of how I've done exactly that, don't we all? Well, my friend, he says, demonstrating annoying clairvoyance, it's time to get off those high horses, I say again. He retreats within himself, blinking his eyes a few times, as if temporarily unsure of where he is. I hand him my coffee, and after looking at it rather curiously, he takes a sip. A broad smile spreads across his face. At last, my journey is almost over. He stands up and walks directly over to the chess table. Turning to Black, he says, "May I?" Before the kid can answer, he moves Black's knight and says to White, "Checkmate." "Hey, that's not fair," White objects. He pats the kid kindly on his head. "Fair? Get over," he starts to say before stopping himself. "Fair? You'll have to discuss that with the gods." And with that, he half walks, half stumbles past the people at the counter, up the stairs, and onto the sidewalk, taking my coffee with him. Thank you. Good clapping.